Greetings and welcome to the Mount Rushmore podcast. Don't be afraid, everybody. Be calm. Remain calm. Move slowly to your nearest exit. This is the Mount Rushmore of public panics / scares. And me and my good buddies, Richard
Hello.
and Michael,
Howdy,
are going to discuss the top four aspects of these things. But remain calm. Do not panic. Richard, why...
Panic in the streets of London. Why did I choose this? Is that what you were going to say before I sidetracked us into bad Morrissey?
Yeah, were you
impressions?
born with a thorn in your side? Did you shoplift this idea from
I did
someone
shoplift
else?
this idea. I think this just fit well into at the time we were deep into like the hoaxes.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of and conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And I think panics and scares kind of just fell into that.
Oh, for sure.
Well, we just crossed the borderline into October. We're on the doorstep of Halloween. So
it's kind of themed appropriately, sort of.
Okay, cool. All right, so Michael, what's your first choice?
Y2K.
Okay.
Chris Jericho, the wrestler. Wow.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? The crap.
I didn't know. My entire mouth was just full of Halloween candy, literally, and I did not have a good comeback. Yes, Y2K, the panic over the impending doom of the year 2000 and what was going to happen when the two little saved spaces in all of our digital files that didn't add the 19 before them were going to send the world into economic ruin, and we'd enter a new dark age when all the machines would turn against us, and then they just
didn't.
They just didn't.
No, they did. Like the machines didn't turn against us, but the panic was real.
No,
we
yes,
just
of
fixed
course.
it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. It's like saying, "Oh, there's no such thing as COVID. You see, all these people survived. No, they took the vaccine.
That's
Okay,
true.
okay.
The panic was that all this stuff would happen and that things would, revert to a new dark age where no machines would be workable, or that some sort of nuclear bomb would go off because it would, the digits would be off or some whatever. So the panic was real. The people, but what they did is they spent over the course of a number of years, like $300 billion around the world, or
rewriting code
to just like fix things before things went wonky.
Yeah.
I guess Bill Clinton had there was a big push near the end of his administration to be like, let's just fix it. Let's just spend the money to fix it so that things don't, like when I get out of office, that things don't go to shit. Oh wait, they did anyway.
Right.
But I mean, I think, I think there were two aspects of the year 2000. One, it was like this digital thing, and one fixing all this coding, which I was reading, I guess it was done initially was just to save like kilobyte space.
Yeah.
Like just by not having those two, digits in there, just saved tremendous amount of space because everything was on floppy disks, Jeff, and everything was just like, it just cost money.
Yeah. And before them, there were cards, actual computer cards that were punch cards that's just saving those two digits was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And the second thing is like just the idea of the new millennium and all the kind of weirdo, end of the worldist people anyway. People that think that the world's going to end will look to any calendar date to.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that there was who was that guy that used to predict things that he's never gotten it right?
Mm-hmm.
Nostradamus?
Thank you. Nostradamus.
I was going to say Art Bell, but he's...
Nostradamus.
They kind of flip through the pages of his predictions and assign whatever day or whatever to... They're trying to work it out, but it was like, maybe the guy was just high.
Yeah.
But the year 2000, I think, has a lot of like kind of culty, end of the world. It's a new millennium. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Sort of feelings towards it, and then it didn't happen. It was like, okay, well, let's find a new date that will fit better.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember being legit scared. I do remember we were doing some sketch comedy show, and like any kind of theater experience, you have the experience. We all sit around and say, well, what if and what would happen, and then we all just kind of freaked each other out that something actually was gonna go bad, the planes would fall out of the sky, or people in hospitals with oxygen machines would shut off. But one thing that I found fascinating about that is they had to bring out the people who knew how to edit those old computer programmers, which were the 80-year-old dudes who'd retired,
Yeah.
So it was revenge of the old farts coming out to save the day one more time, like Space Cowboys or something.
Yeah, I keep thinking of how last week we talked about the like these costs, like the cost of saving money on the punch cards and the cost of kilobytes, and how the storage space is endless these days. There's no limit to how big something can be, how much information you can carry in your pocket, and how much. But back then, that sort of information, that storage space, however it is, was just at such a premium.
I think also the mentality. I wonder. So the Rolling Stones are playing 2 shows this week, or are they?
Yeah, coming up this week. Yeah.
Would they have written their songs any better if they knew they were going to be playing them for 80 years? I wonder. And when
That's
those
so
people
funny.
were writing that code, they were just typing away, assuming, oh, this is going to be rewritten so many times before this
funny.
becomes a problem whatsoever. So I think they all thought, that this was not going to last, and fuck if it did. It did. All of it stayed. Okay, Richard Manfredi.
All right, my first choice is a little bit more analog than Michael's.
Oh.
It is the dancing plague of 1518.
Ooh, I think we all remember.
Yeah,
I was
remember
there.
Where
Where
you
were
were
you?
back in 1518? Wasn't that the tagline for American Graffiti?
Yeah.
Where were you in 1518?
Yeah.
So this is
Plague.
the plague. Yeah, this was it happened in the city of Strasbourg, which was part of the Holy Roman Empire at the time. And apparently, it started in July of that year when a woman named as Frau Trophia stepped into the street and began just dancing. She just started getting down, man. And she kept
This poor woman had to.
Well, there was a
sick, and-
Strauss waltz or something. What jams did she have going
no
on?
music. She didn't have a beatbox
a
or anything.
Victrola.
Or didn't have somebody beatboxing for her.
Harpsichord.
No, nothing like that. And she started dancing. She danced by herself for a week.
Shit.
And by August, other people had started joining in, and there were up to 400 people who were just out in the streets of Strasbourg, all dancing at the same time.
Wow.
Doing these like wild spasmic kind of like Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld kind of dance moves. And the local physicians didn't know what to make out of it, so they suggested that it was because of hot blood.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's usually what does it.
Which sounds about right for your physician in 1815 or 1518. And
That woman's got a case of hot blood. Oh yeah, I've seen it before.
Why do you determine that? The cocaine I gave her didn't work. Okay. She'll need another leeching. We all agree she needs leeching.
so they thought they would just dance it away eventually.
Oh,
So they brought in, the people from Strasbourg brought in professional dancers to help out. They even brought in a band to help them.
Oh, I like that.
But after a while, the marathon dancing started to take its toll, and the dancers started collapsing from exhaustion. Some of them died from heart attacks.
This seems like a Shel Silverstein poem, not a real thing that ever happened.
That's so funny that you say that. We've just been reading so much Shel
Yeah.
Silverstein poems. Like in the last week,
Is it really? Yeah.
we've gone through like 2 of the books.
Wow.
And what we do with Felix too sometimes is when he has that extra energy, you just got to run him down at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Mom and Dad are tired, but he's like, can we play like a chasing game? And you're just like, we've got to chase this kid till he physically can't move anymore, or else it's going to take even longer. So like if the cops did the same thing.
It
It's like,
was-
just dance
Dance
it
them
out
off.
of him.
Dance it off.
Dance it
And
off.
apparently it went on until September, when they eventually took the people who were affected into the mountains and had them pray for absolution. And that got them to stop.
Wow.
And there's been several theories about why this happened. There's a historian, John Waller, who said the most likely explanation was there was this Catholic saint called Saint Vitus, who in the 16th century believed that who people believed in the 16th century had the power to curse people into dancing.
Oh.
And combine that with the fact that there was all these actual plagues happening and famine, and it was a really difficult period of time in Strasbourg, that they think people just cracked up, basically. There's been a few other theories that it may have been they may have been part of a religious cult, or there may have been a toxic mold that is part of damp rye that may have been ingested that kind of
Wow.
acts like LSD.
Wow.
That may have infected people, but this idea that it was just sort of like this stress induced mass panic and mass hysteria is kind of the most commonly
Wow.
believed theory.
And hot blood, right?
And hot blood.
Yeah.
And from a sociological standpoint, it wasn't something like Beatlemania where the people just decided we all need to be doing this right now. They found medical or the actual reasons, physical reasons versus just like a trend, a craze.
It may have been something psychological where
Yeah.
people, with this combination of believing that this saint had the ability to curse people to dance, they believed that they were cursed.
Yeah.
And you add that to all of the stress of living in a famine and during
Yeah.
plague times. It
Yeah.
just kind of caused people to crack up.
Yeah, I wonder if it's also akin to something like going to a faith-based ceremony and feeling the spirit and
Yeah.
feeling like, well, that guy next to me feels the spirit. I should feel the spirit too, and dance
Yeah,
and
when you
sing
start
in tongues.
to, go to a Pentecostal church
Yeah.
or something and seeing people dancing with snakes and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. I would imagine it's something somewhat similar to that.
Yeah,
Did they check her pants for snakes? Maybe there were just snakes.
Well,
in
they were
there.
hot snakes.
hot
hot
snakes. Hot snakes. Winfield.
This is a kind of yearly sort of thing, or maybe it was when I was a kid, or maybe it kind of comes around every now and then. But the panic over razor blades and candy.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
We just ate some delicious Reese's peanut butter cups.
I had
but
a Kit Kat.
they were the mini size,
Yeah.
not even fun size. They were mini, so I think they were too small for Jeff to have inserted any sort
secreted-
of like thumbtack or razor
Razor
blade
blade.
in there. Or, but it's one of those things that kind of happens right around Halloween when strangers start giving other kids candy.
Yeah.
That there's a certain percentage of the population that starts to kind of start retell old folklore or like cautionary tales.
Urban myth. Yeah.
You know, there's razor blades and candied apples and things like that. I don't know if there's ever really been a recorded case of any of it,
Yeah.
but still, it kind of propagates and it comes back. And, maybe rightfully so in a certain sense that strangers are giving your kids candy. And there's a lot of like weird people out there. But then you start to think about it and you're like, yeah, but in your neighborhood, you're walking around your neighborhood for the most part and you're,
You know
Yeah.
your neighbors.
I don't know. It just seems,
Yeah.
It seems like it's a cautionary tale or it's a cautionary panic that some people probably have that, I don't know. I think I thought of this one because the other day I saw on Twitter some nonsense, and I think this was even recycled from a couple years ago where, there's new kind of like CBD and drug-related packaging, like stuff that
Does that have
looks
to do
like
with gummies?
yeah, stuff like looks like Cheetos, and it's not quite called Cheetos, but it kind of has some sort of, I don't know, drug-related
Yeah.
sort of name, and the packaging, Chester Cheetah looks high or whatever. And so, like, there's, like, people that are going around trying to imply that people are putting way more expensive drugs into candy that they're just going to give away to kids.
Right.
And hoping that they'll, I don't know, get high.
Do you
And they
know-
just assemble-
You know how expensive these gummies are? People are not giving these away.
No.
If you're buying them, you're ingesting them. You're not
Yeah.
giving them some snot-nosed 8-year-old.
I think electronic journalism spread a lot of that stuff. Like the Tylenol scare was that era where I think it had been 10 years or so since local news had the ability to do these quick spur of the moment news packages. And
Well,
also,
it was the invention of like the eyewitness news,
Yeah.
the action news,
yeah,
and there was this all sort of like the sensationalistic
yeah.
tabloid type
When-
TV journalism.
5 o'clock had to be as edgy as 7 o'clock.
Right.
Then they would repeat those things. And I think also, yeah, there was also news without journalism. They were just sharing news packages from town to town and stuff that was kind of ripped off a fax machine or something like that. Because I know the Tylenol scare was a fake thing
Yeah.
that was spread through the.
Well, it was a
Mhm.
real thing that sort of. I mean, the Tylenol. There was poisonings related to Tylenol. That was a real thing.
But it wasn't
But
around
it wasn't-
Halloween.
It wasn't around Halloween.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. All right, yeah, that's so funny. Like, who was like, how do you?
It's just
get
one of
a-
those things that will like constantly renew itself.
Yeah.
Every year, every few years. That It just moves around.
And it's the power of story, too, when it has some kind of aspect to it that involves something you love, like your children,
Yeah.
something that's scary, like Halloween,
Yeah.
and something that's yummy, like Boys and Reese's. In Canada, they're just Reese. There's no S at the end. It's just Reese.
Reese peanut butter
Just
cup?
Reese. They don't need that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
They're saving those letters for Y2K.
We need to
Y3K.
we got to save on them.
Just hold on to those extra
No.
ESs. You never know if you're
Yeah.
gonna.
And year 3000, everything's S. It's just S's. We're
Yeah.
going to save them all up. Ben Freddy. Top dancing plague.
All right, my second choice is
Singing plague.
the Red Scare.
Okay.
Communists.
Oh.
Communists have
McCarthy. Okay.
infiltrated the government, Jeff. They're
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Are
They're
you-
in Hollywood.
I have a list on my hand
Yes.
of 5 known communists in this podcast.
Wow, is one of them your dog?
Yep. He's a Ruski.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So this started kind of after World War II, and there was as with most scares, there was some truth to it, because the Soviet Union did have espionage campaigns involving people who had been either had been planted or had been coerced to cooperate with them within certain levers of government.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry Truman, in 1947, he enacted let me get it here, not the Alien and Sedition Act. I just looked that up, and that's not what
The
it was.
Natasha Badenoff Act.
Yes, the Boris Badenov Act of 1947. No, it was the Loyalty Order, which mandated that all federal employees be analyzed to determine whether they were sufficiently loyal to the government,
Wow.
which kind of goes against,
Civil
the
liberties.
Constitution and
yeah.
civil liberties and everything like that. So when we look back at Truman, by the way, and we think of him as kind of this like grandfatherly, like doting character,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true.
Ah,
Yeah. Sorry to ruin. I
from
know
the home state.
Yeah. Sorry to ruin Truman for you there,
Yeah.
Jeff. And then it kind of like snowballed from there, and you get into Joseph McCarthy, noted alcoholic,
Yeah.
with his House Un-American Committee,
HUAC.
House Un-American Activities Committee, which is these like, these Senate congressional hearings where he would come out with his list of people who were known communists, and he would grill celebrities and Hollywood types and people in writers and people in the government, people in the army, and try and force them to name names.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it all fell apart. But for a while there, it was a real thing where there was this real fear that communists were going to infiltrate the government and sort of take over from the inside.
Yeah. I remember the podcast Blacklist at that time in the 50s. There were some good podcasts that got shut down. Dalton Trumbo's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there also like part of the Red Scare is the militaristic stuff for like the kitchen debates and like Sputnik and all that other stuff too, I guess. I think of a Red Scare as actually being, we're talking about like the Red Scare as in we are being infiltrated amongst our, Hydra is.
Yeah, basically Hydra. It was basically what Hydra was before Hydra or after Hydra.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the timeline.
Yeah, it wasn't this Sputnik flying over our heads. It was the enemy within. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were lots of, it's a Supreme Court case in 1951 that said that free speech rights of accused communists could be restricted because their actions constituted a clear and present danger to the government.
Wow.
Just all sorts of like crazy impingements against people's personal freedom.
Well, yeah, like vaccination, like masks and vaccinations.
Now you got Grimes walking around the streets reading the Communist Manifesto. Where are we? Right there.
Right there.
It's right there. She's not even hiding it anymore.
Harry Truman, if he was alive to get it today. But what if he was alive today?
No, don't do that, Jeff.
We missed that. No, we don't. It was the same impersonation every time.
I miss it.
All that you're kind.
Oh, put your. You know what you got to do? You got to put these dead presidents under the hot seat and on the fire.
Oh yeah.
the firing.
Oh my god. Amazon. I got to buy some top hats real quick off of Amazon, some mutton chops and things like that. We're at our halftime, and you know what we usually ask you, and that is to approach us and say that you're sorry you're not current on our podcast.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
us feel great.
Don't listen to it. Don't share it. Don't contribute to it. Just let us know that you wish you had more time to spend with our podcast. And then spend more time, download, rate, and review past episodes. It's getting to be the holiday season, meaning the spooky season. And we're having a campaign where if you create a Halloween costume based on any topic that we've ever discussed and then post it onto one of our social media handles, you will win a year's supply of the Mount Rushmore podcast.
Woo!
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
whole year.
A whole year.
52 episodes for free?
That's absolutely free. No added charge.
Friends and family, can I, if
What are you talking
like
about?
if I have like if I enter my aunt
Oh,
or
a
uncle
code?
into this?
Oh, a discount?
No,
Yeah,
no.
enter promo code Rushmore
Yeah.
when you download it, and you'll get a free episode.
A free episode.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, great. Hey, Christmas taken care of this year for everybody.
Do all your shopping already. Okay, and that means it's Michael for his third.
My third choice is the 2016 clown sightings in America. that
Oh,
happened.
yeah!
Yeah.
Forgot.
I know, thankfully.
Oh, wow, yes.
But for a hot month and a half,
Yeah.
everyone was like, what's
hell
up with
no.
all these creepy clowns
Yeah.
going around? I guess it started in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where there's about 5 sort of clowns that
That all
were
had cheese heads. That's the scariest part.
That's so funny. There were these like 5 pictures of clowns being spotted in different like parking lots late at night, being really creepy. Yada yada yada. It was for some like short film called
Oh,
Gags. It was all like kind of viral, whatever.
Yeah.
For it. In the end, I never even knew that until I started reading about it.
Okay.
I mean, nice job.
Great viral marketing, guys.
But I remember it was in this lead up to the election, and I thought to myself, oh, great, all we fucking need is fucking crazy people dressed up as clowns going around this country doing horrible things.
Yeah.
And now nobody actually, I don't think, did anything. Like, there might have been, like, people, like, dressing up as clowns, like, as a joke to help scare people afterwards once this kind of viral marketing thing kind of engage in the zeitgeist. But I remember being like, okay, like, I don't like that. I'm not like I'm scared of clowns person, but clowns are one of like the scarier generic things that are aimed at kids.
Yeah.
Some of the after effects that they saw that like McDonald's stopped using Ronald McDonald. You do not see him, and they kind of made like a strategic decision to like, well, we're not going to put Ronald out there anymore. He's not on any sort of advertising or marketing or anything. I don't even, maybe the only thing that might still be around is like the Ronald McDonald House, the charity. But I don't think that there's like,
Oh, yeah.
he doesn't really go around dressed up in makeup because
He'd
fucking
been
clowns.
phased out pretty well,
Yeah,
but he was still around.
They'd kind of moved towards the like, I'm loving it sort of.
Yeah. I thought they did somewhere he
marketing,
was
but-
playing golf or something like that at one point. Okay.
I don't know.
But yeah, that's a liability now. They got a clown mascot.
But I remember like with the election being like, God, fuck, this is all we need.
Yeah.
We barely survived Pokemon Go, and now it's like all clowns. I don't need this.
I am not afraid. I think I've expressed this before of clowns. I'm afraid of people who have time to dress up like clowns. I'm like that with haunted houses. Like I'm not afraid of a haunted house. I'm just afraid of a guy who says, "Yeah, I'm not busy September through October. I'll wield a prop chainsaw in a dark room
Yeah.
for minimum wage." That's the guy I'm afraid of. That guy, his decisions. Okay, so now we're going from clowns to
discussing the fact that these stools, you were right, Jeff.
you
After
don't.
about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I got to get a
It's murder
cushion
on your ass.
A cushion for the cushion.
Anyway, that's some inside baseball.
Sorry.
And we don't need to get into that. We are going straight into Dungeons and Dragons.
Whoa.
Do you remember this, Jeff? Do you remember the TV movie
Yeah.
Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks?
Rona Jaffe's Mazes and Monsters.
Yes.
Yeah.
We tried to watch it about sometime last year during all of the lockdown. And we turned it off after maybe 25 minutes.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good at all. But it was based on a real panic. Back when Dungeons and Dragons became sort of this phenomenon back in the late 70s, early 80s. There was also a counter phenomenon of parents being very concerned that Dungeons and Dragons was going to lead their kids into Satan worshiping.
Yeah.
That somehow they would become cursed if they played. It was, against the will of God.
Yeah.
All of that sort of stuff. Back in 1979, what kicked off the moral panic against Dungeons and Dragons was a case where a 16-year-old kid who was going to Michigan State University, his name was James Dallas Egbert III.
Sorry. Yeah. I hope nothing bad happened to him, and I just chuckled.
Something did happen.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
To him, but
I'm
it's
sorry.
still a funny name.
Sorry, Egbert family.
We can still laugh at the Egberts. He apparently went missing from Michigan State, and he... and you're a terrible person for laughing at this.
Sorry, the third family.
Family the third. The Egbert family hired a private investigator named
They hired an orc, a wizard, a magic user, a mage,
an elf to go on a quest for him. They hired a private investigator. His name was William Deere.
Oh no!
I know, it just gets worse and worse to find him. And this guy just became convinced that Dungeons and Dragons was behind the disappearance. And it turned out that the kid was just cracking up, partially because he was this child prodigy who had been pushed into going to Michigan State and going to college when he was 16. And he had kind of gotten into drugs. So he had actually disappeared into there's like a system of tunnels underneath Michigan State University.
Yeah.
And he disappeared underneath there for a while.
Wow.
He just went there on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, he got the wrong map from the troll.
Yeah. What if he found Ninja Turtles and he's like, "What the fuck?"
What if toxic waste got dumped on him and he became a Ninja Turtle? How about that?
So he did something that supported the story.
Yeah, he went into the tunnels.
Yeah.
He later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, poor kid.
Yeah. Which again, he had mental health issues. There were a lot of reasons why this happened. None of them had anything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. There's another case in 1982 where a high school student killed himself, and his mom decided that even though his classmates were like, a kid had trouble fitting in, he obviously had some mental health issues, the mom became convinced that this was all D&D's fault, and actually wound up suing his kid's high school principal because the high school principal had been the game master of the D&D game and had placed a curse on the kid's character, and the mom claimed that the curse was real.
Wow.
Which is not legally actionable, it turns out.
What if you found out Boggle was where the real satanic shit was going down?
Yeah, you shake up the letters and suddenly they're like runes, kind of. And you shake them up.
You summon Beelzebub.
And you're summoning words.
He appears. My turn? My go now?
My go.
Can I do the diagonal ones, or does it have to be just straight?
Are these Cheetos for everybody? Oh, don't get your hand. He licked his fingers.
No, wrong type of Cheetos. Wrong type of Cheetos. And she wound up forming a group called Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons. Bad, of course, DD, because that was the cool thing to do back in the early 80s. And she described Dungeons and Dragons as, and I will quote this here, a fantasy role-playing game which uses demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, rape, blasphemy, suicide, assassination, insanity, sex perversion, homosexuality, prostitution, satanic-type rituals, gambling, barbarism, cannibalism, sadism, desecration, demon summoning, necromantics, divination, and other teachings. To which I say, yeah, that sounded pretty much like what my Dungeons and Dragons game was like when I was in high school. Except for the rape part.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything else kind of went into the game at some point.
We were I remember my brother and I went to a game. We were 8 and 9, and it didn't get that cool. There wasn't that. Do you feel like it was a little bit of the scare in regards to heavy metal lyrics?
I think there was. Yeah. I think it was all kind of. It feels like it was tied up into the same sort of like. You know,
occult,
you would expect
satanic.
Occult, satanic. You would. I think parents assumed that kids who were into Dungeons and Dragons were also into heavy metal because look, there's a lot of the same imagery that was being used. You know, if you look at a Dungeons and Dragons board game or Dungeons and Dragons book, for example, it looks heavy metal as hell.
Yeah,
the cover does.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of cross pollination in parents' minds between the two.
Wow. I'm fascinated by the thing that isn't the real thing that's the problem that people want to focus on. Because usually it's something that they can burn, cancel, crush, ban, versus being a shitty mom and dad.
Right.
Versus not really listening to your kids, versus not spending quality time with your family.
Well, and for me, it was like, a lot of the people I know today who grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons were kind of outsiders. And Dungeons and Dragons gave them a way to be able to relate to other people and kind of create a community.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, probably saved them from a lot of mental health issues and and kind of gave them kind of a structure in their lives. So the fact that parents were trying to take this away from their kids was probably way more destructive than Dungeons and Dragons ever could be.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Manfredi, you
I
good?
already went. Get off my
I
back.
just like saying your name. Manfredi, it's like a whisper through the trees. It's like a poem on the wind.
Wow.
Wow.
Do we have to pay for that?
Yeah.
But Winfield is even more poetic. What's your next one?
My next choice, my last choice, is the 1938 radio broadcast of the War of the
Oh,
Worlds.
wow.
That's
Cool.
a good one, yeah.
Where a lot of people, I guess, were kind of in panic over the kind of the interrupted nature of the broadcast.
Yeah.
Panic in the streets of
There we go.
Grover Mills.
Sorry.
It's like he's right.
It's like he's right here.
It's wonderful. What I like about this, I'll get into the story in a little bit. What I like about this is these are like the people that were like panicked by this, or like the dumbasses that were scared of like the train being projected on like a
on the bed sheet.
on the bed sheet, like the first time you saw like Lumiere or whatever his name is.
Was it Edison? Was it an Edison?
Maybe it was an
Yeah,
Edison.
yeah.
The first motion picture. The people were just like, "What?
Yeah.
A train is coming at me!" Fucking morons. But the story goes that at the beginning of a radio program called the Mercury Theater on the Air, which was kind of read by Orson Welles, now famous Orson Welles, saying that he was going to do a reading of this. It was a
Halloween special.
It was a Halloween special. He was going to read. He was going to do a performance or read about the War of the Worlds, the H.G. Wells book, and he led off saying, "This is what I'm saying," and then throughout the broadcast, they'd cut to like music, and then like a newsman would interrupt and be like, "Oh, well, there've been reported big explosions on Mars," and like I can't imagine the people just listening to it being like, "Huh, that's a coincidence." I'm listening to this story.
In 1938, how would you know that there were explosions on Mars? It's not like they had a Mars telescope or something.
The story was that there was another much more popular show that was on the competing radio network, and it was a rerun or something like that. So everybody kind of went. They started
listening
to the other show,
and then turned in.
When they found out that wasn't going to be what they thought, they switched over to post-introduction.
Gotcha.
Mercury
And
Theater.
so he's telling the story. You know, he's going on for like 40 minutes, and in this, the first like half of this, 40 minutes of this thing, it's constantly being interrupted. Like, we're seeing these Martian creatures and things over New York and Washington, and so it had an air of realism. I don't know what you'd call that. I don't know what kind of
verite.
Yeah. And
because the guy, he talked like this, just like a regular news broadcaster.
And then the last half of the show was more of a dramatized sort of a description of other things that are happening, the rest of the story. But I guess people were just generally like panicked and upset and like worried that these things were happening, and wrote in letters to the FTC and he tried to get them held accountable for like whatever. I mean, at the end of the broadcast, Orson Welles ended it being like "Happy Halloween" and "Boo," and it's like, okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Stay till the end. I like the person that turns on the radio and is like, "Martians are coming down." That's it. Martians are here. I'm out of here. You heard it?
You heard it here first.
The newspaper man voice that Jeff just did. Same thing. I trust that.
Also, buy Bosco soap. Get your pants and pens clean. The ability for a scare to happen means there's something already putting people 90% there.
Sure.
I feel like there's something going on. So had speculative science fiction, Jules Verne stuff been popular? I wonder, what was in the air? Would people already go out and see? I don't know if the sci-fi genre had been active in film that much yet, but I wonder if
I don't know. 1938 seems awful late for this sort of thing.
yeah.
It
Well,
se-
it's before the flying saucer movies and stuff like that.
that's
but,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I wonder where people.
Did they even have a theremin back then?
Yeah. How are you gonna be scared if they're in a therapy? I love Wells. Like, what was he, 23 then?
Yeah.
Something like that.
The Wunderkind, yeah.
I'd heard that he would take an ambulance from studio to studio in New York because it was just too slow to drive a car. Sometimes he'd had 2 or 3 shows an hour.
Jeez.
He'd walk in a recording studio. They'd say, 80-year-old Chinaman, hand him a script, and he would just just read the thing. All right, so yeah, you did your 4, Richard?
No, I got one more.
Okay, all right.
My 4th one is the greatest panic of my lifetime. The Great Toilet Paper Panic of 2020.
It's so real still.
Yeah, I hate to bring back any PTSD that anyone had
Yeah.
of trying to fight through the masses
Yeah.
to claim your 24-pack of Charmin.
We just ran out of ours.
Did you?
We just kind of ran out of toilet. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 2 years of toilet paper panic from over the stockpile.
That was
I fell for it.
Yeah, everyone fell for it. And even though we all collectively knew there was nothing about COVID that should lead at that time to a run on toilet paper. There was no reason, there was no connection between toilet paper and COVID,
Right.
right? It wasn't like this was like some diarrheal infection or something like that. There's just no connection between the two. But it was just like people were like, what's the one thing that we cannot live without?
Yes.
And everyone sort of collectively, which is amazing that everyone collectively kind of it came up with the answer of toilet paper. That's the one thing that we're going to panic about. If society starts to fall apart, at least I can wipe my ass.
Yeah.
Because there's really, I think the thing is there's no real backup for it.
No, newspapers can only get you so far.
If you run out of milk, there's other milk options. If you run out of fresh fruit, there's canned fruit. And if you run there's a way to eat your way around this situation. But with toilet paper, there's really nothing.
And what's amazing is that now there is apparently stores are starting to institute. I know Costco was starting to reinstitute the maximum purchases on toilet paper again. But this time it's actually for good reasons because the ports are so backed up with their inability to offload stuff from the ships that there is actually beginning to be shortages, the potential for shortages on toilet paper. Not to panic anybody. Don't run out.
Oh boy.
Don't run out. Do that.
See you guys.
Yeah, bye.
You shut off the machine after we're done.
So I do remember the first couple of weeks of COVID shutdown, going to a Target at and lining up at 6 a.m. when they opened up at 6:30.
Oh sure.
So I could run into the store and grab my maximum, my 2 giant
Yeah.
tubs, my giant carts full of 2 things of the 24 packs of toilet paper, and coming back, and Sarah, my wife, has a picture of me holding them up, like I just returned from
hero.
Yeah.
like I just returned from the hunt or something like that.
I used to do my shopping like that. I mean, I was in the first 6 months of it. I would leave on a Monday morning and get there when the store opened at 6, and I would do all my shopping before anyone else was in the store. Because you remember they had the different, they had the elderly shopping hours initially.
So Michael would dress up like an old
I
person.
put on I was like Batman. I put on the getup. I had the mustache.
Like
perfected my walk.
Nathaniel Hornblower, the Beastie Boys director.
I was like, what's his name in Mary Poppins?
Yeah. Dick Van Dyke
Dick
dressed
Van Dyke
as
dressed up as the old man, the old banker. That was me. But just carrying huge,
Yeah.
drugs or whatever. But yeah, it was wild. But all of it was all connected. You just didn't know.
And the weird part was that it was so informative of what a panic can cause, because eventually there were shortages, and you could get toilet paper if you went in the middle of the day, because people were panicking and panic buying. And
Yeah.
because people were panic buying, there was scarcity. And because you saw that there was scarcity, you started panic buying.
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, for sure.
So it just it was such a perfect example of how a panic starts.
Do you remember the one-off brands? I was starting to see one-off brands like, oh, honey, they've got toilet paper. It's Zagreb toilet paper.
Right. made with 50% pulp.
Yeah. I don't know. Was it wood pulp? We get splinters.
Yeah. Or yeah, you would get like where they would sell like the individually wrapped.
Yeah,
like
the single
half,
rolls.
the half ply type stuff.
Yeah.
Where you could like hold it up and it's like like cheese paper.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's
The
like,
custodian
see right
at
through
school would have those like in the little closet. Those really thin things.
And it felt like getting one of those felt like, okay, this isn't really toilet paper. This is cheesecloth, but it's gonna work. We'll make it work. Goddamn it!
It's a thin barrier between
my
hand
and poop.
and poop. Wow. I was gonna say I'm not. Sad things and bad things are still happening for people, so I would never say that there is any upside to this. But I remember feeling, as a person who is very cityfied and has very few things that make him feel masculine, being able to be the caveman who dragged home a roll of toilet paper used to make me feel like the conquering hero.
You didn't it, a little bit? Yeah.
There was also the just that small period of time when you're just like, all right, so are we going in on a bidet or what?
Yeah.
All the bidets are sold out on Amazon? Oh, can't even do that.
Can we just hook up a hose to the sink?
This dog is very interested in licking. No. Okay. So this has been the Mount Rushmore of Panics and Scares. And I have really... What was that noise?
Huh?
Oh, my God. Oh, God. Bar the door. Look, bar the
aliens
door.
are here.
The aliens are here.
The
They're
killer clown aliens.
Killer clowns from outer space have arrived.
They're putting razor blades in our candy, and they're
Also making me
they're
roll
dancing all over the place.
They make me roll a D20 for some reason. I don't know.
This is Orson Welles.
Communists.
The little green men are coming down. Okay, so why don't we go with Y2K because it's pretty ubiquitous. It's the one that I think we all kind of know about, and I thought War of the Worlds discussion was really interesting too. And Dancing Plague is very novel and very interesting. I would love to go to Strasbourg and see if that lady's still
dancing
still
in the
boogieing
street.
down. Yeah, and then let's go D&D because right on, because yeah. Okay, dudes, this has been the Mount Rushmore of Panics and Scares. I, as always, am Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.
Panic on the streets of London.